This is Mr. Eugene, and today we're examining an economic reality that explains why marriage rates are collapsing, why younger men are opting out entirely, and why women over 30 are increasingly panicked about their relationship prospects. Women are playing temporal arbitrage games with men, demanding treatment from one era while providing value from another. They want to be courted, provided for, and protected like it's 1950. But they want to contribute, behave, and relate to men like it's 2025. Meaning minimal contribution, maximum demands, and zero accountability. And men have caught on. Not all men, not immediately. But increasingly, systematically, men are performing cost-benefit analyses and arriving at the same conclusion: marriage as currently structured is a catastrophically bad deal. The double standards have become impossible to ignore. The lies about what partnership actually means have been exposed. The manipulation tactics that worked on previous generations are failing spectacularly with men who have options. Here's what men are realizing in numbers that should terrify the marriage industry. Women, and wives specifically, have become overpriced commodities. They're charging monopoly prices as if they're the only suppliers. But they're not the only suppliers anymore, and the market has adjusted accordingly. Today we're examining why marriage has become economically irrational for men, the historical value proposition that women used to offer and how that's changed, the modern alternatives that provide 80% of the benefits at 10% of the cost and drama, the delusional pricing strategy most women are employing, and why women have essentially two choices: become genuinely valuable partners or get comfortable with the consequences of market correction. This isn't about hating women. This is about understanding market forces. And right now, the market is telling women something they desperately don't want to hear: you're overpriced, under-delivering, and men have figured out better alternatives. Stay with me. This is the economic analysis of modern relationships that nobody else is willing to provide. The time warp game, demanding 1950s treatment while providing 2025 effort. Let me start by clearly defining the game that's being played so we're all operating from the same understanding. Women, not all women, but enough that it's become the dominant pattern, are engaging in what I call temporal arbitrage. They're cherry-picking expectations from different eras while refusing to acknowledge the reciprocal obligations that came with those expectations. She wants from the 1950s financial provision. He should pay for dates. All of them. He should pay for the engagement ring, the wedding, the honeymoon. He should be the primary earner, or at minimum earn substantially more than she does. He should cover major expenses. He should provide financial security. Courtship rituals. He should pursue her. He should plan dates. He should put in effort to win her over. He should demonstrate his value to her. He should prove himself worthy of her attention and affection, protection and leadership. He should make her feel safe. He should handle problems. He should lead the relationship. He should make difficult decisions. He should shield her from consequences. Chivalry and deference. He should open doors. He should be a gentleman. He should treat her like she's special, valuable, worthy of elevated treatment. He should prioritize her comfort and preferences, commitment and exclusivity. Once they're together, he should be completely committed, faithful, oriented toward building a future together, marriage-minded. These are all expectations from an era when women held up their end of a specific social contract. The 1950s model worked when both parties fulfilled their roles. What she's actually providing in 2025: minimal domestic contribution. She doesn't cook regularly or well. Cleaning is sporadic at best. Laundry is shared responsibility, which means he does half or more. Home management falls largely on him or doesn't happen. Career focus that benefits her, not the family. She works not to contribute to family finances primarily, but to maintain her independence, her identity, her options. Her career often takes priority over family needs. Her income is hers, while his income is ours. Sexual gatekeeping and withdrawal. Sex is something she controls, dispenses, withholds based on her mood or as a tool for behavioral management. Frequency drops after commitment is secured. Enthusiasm is optional. His needs are secondary to her comfort. Emotional volatility and high maintenance. She requires constant emotional management. Her moods dictate household atmosphere. Her feelings take priority over practical considerations. He's responsible for her emotional state, but she's not responsible for his perpetual evaluation and criticism. He's constantly being assessed. Is he doing enough? Being enough? Meeting her standards? Measuring up to her expectations? Nothing he does is quite sufficient. Appreciation is rare. Criticism is constant. Option preservation and exit strategy. She maintains her own finances. She keeps her own accounts. She doesn't take his name or does so grudgingly. She ensures she can leave at any time. She's never fully committed because she's always aware she has alternatives. This is the 2025 model. Maximum independence, minimum obligation, maximum demand, minimum delivery. And here's the problem that's becoming impossible to ignore. Men are being asked to provide a 1950s level of commitment, provision, and protection while receiving a 2025 level of contribution, which is essentially nothing guaranteed and everything conditional. The historical value proposition, what women used to offer to understand why modern marriage is failing economically, we need to understand what marriage used to provide men that justified the cost and commitment. Let me use what might seem like a strange analogy, but it illustrates the economics perfectly. Women are kind of like spices were 500 years ago. There was a time when men literally risked their lives, sailed across oceans, navigated hostile territories, faced disease and death to obtain spices. Only the richest people could afford them. They were scarce, valuable, and commanded premium prices because there was no alternative supply. Now we take spices completely for granted. They're lined up at every grocery store, available in infinite variety, cheap, accessible to everyone regardless of wealth or status. What changed? The supply problem was solved. When alternatives became available, the premium pricing collapsed. Now let's think about a woman's historical value in a man's life. What she uniquely provided that he couldn't easily get elsewhere: historical female value proposition, sexual access and intimacy. In an era before reliable contraception, before socially acceptable premarital sex, before hookup culture, sexual intimacy was essentially locked behind marriage for most men. If you wanted consistent sexual access, you needed a wife, domestic labor. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, home management, these were time-intensive, skilled tasks. A man working full-time couldn't effectively manage a household alone. He needed a wife to make home function, child-rearing. If you wanted children and wanted them raised properly, you needed a wife. Childcare wasn't outsourced. Mothers raised children. If you wanted to be a father, marriage was the only pathway, social respectability. An unmarried man past a certain age was viewed with suspicion. Career advancement often required being married. Social access required having a wife. Business dealings assumed you were married. Companionship and emotional support. In an era before extensive male friendships were common, before therapy, before support groups, wives provided emotional intimacy that men couldn't easily access elsewhere. Economic partnership. Two people building together could achieve more than one person alone. Household economics required partnership. The division of labor made economic sense. In this model, marriage was a genuine value exchange. He provided financial security, protection, status. She provided domestic labor, sexual access, child-rearing, companionship, household management. Both parties benefited. Neither could easily replicate what the other provided. The exchange was balanced. The modern reality: everything she offered is now available elsewhere. Now let's examine the modern world and why the traditional female value proposition has essentially collapsed. Modern male access without marriage, sexual access and intimacy. Dating apps provide abundant options. Hookup culture is normalized. Friends with benefits arrangements are common. Casual relationships provide sexual access without commitment. For men with even moderate attractiveness or resources, sexual access is available without marriage. Cost: minimal. Drama: manageable. Commitment: none required. Domestic labor, meal delivery services, meal prep companies, restaurants on every corner, pre-made meals at grocery stores. Cooking is optional. Cleaning services are affordable. Laundry services exist. Robots vacuum floors. Apps manage household tasks. A man with moderate income can outsource essentially all domestic labor. Cost: $200 minus $500 month for comprehensive services. Drama: zero. Commitment: cancel anytime. Companionship: male friendships, hobby communities, sports leagues, online communities, professional networks. Men have unprecedented access to social connection outside of romantic relationships. Loneliness is solvable without marriage. Cost: minimal. Drama: minimal. Commitment: voluntary. Children: this is the one area where marriage traditionally held monopoly. But even this is changing. Surrogacy exists. Adoption by single men is increasingly accepted. CO parenting arrangements are possible. And honestly, many men are recognizing that modern family courts make fatherhood through marriage a catastrophic risk anyway. If divorce means you lose your kids and pay for the privilege, why take that risk? Emotional support. Therapy is available. Male support groups exist. Close friendships provide emotional intimacy. Online communities offer connection. Men are learning to meet emotional needs without romantic relationships. Social respectability. Being unmarried is no longer scandalous. Career advancement doesn't require marriage. Social access doesn't require a wife. Actually, being successfully single is often viewed as higher status than being married. Economic advantage. Single men with decent incomes often have more wealth than married men because they're not supporting another adult who may contribute minimally to household finances while draining resources significantly. Here's the brutal economic reality. Everything women historically provided that justified marriage is now available to men through other channels at lower cost with less drama and zero commitment required. The math, what he actually gets in modern marriage. Let me break down the actual cost-benefit analysis that men are increasingly performing what the married man provides 100% of himself. His income, even if she works, cultural expectation is that he earns more and his income supports the household primarily. His time, he's expected to be available, present, invested. His commitment, he's locked in legally, financially, emotionally. His protection, he's responsible for her safety, her comfort, her emotional state. His provision, he pays for the lifestyle, the home, often her expenses even if she works. 100% emotional labor. He's responsible for her happiness, for managing her emotions, for being her therapist, her cheerleader, her emotional dumping ground. Zero exit strategy. Marriage creates legal entanglement. If it ends, he loses financially regardless of fault. He pays alimony potentially. He pays child support if there are kids. He loses assets. He's financially devastated while she's often financially rewarded for leaving. What he actually receives, 50% of what he needs on a good day. Sex happens sometimes if he's lucky, if she's in the mood, if he's behaved properly, if the stars align. Domestic contribution is sporadic. She cooks occasionally, cleans when she feels like it, contributes to household management when it's convenient. Emotional support is conditional. She's supportive when he's successful, critical when he's struggling. 10,000% more of what he doesn't need. Constant evaluation and criticism. Emotional volatility he's responsible for managing. Drama with her family, her friends, her coworkers, that becomes his problem. Nagging about things he's not doing right. Complaints about what he's failing to provide. Disrespect disguised as honesty. Testing disguised as communication. The math is simple and devastating. Married man gives 100% of himself. Receives 50% of what he needs. Endures 100 times the drama and criticism. That's not a partnership. That's a catastrophically bad deal. The alternative, what single men are actually getting. Now, let's examine what single men who opted out of marriage or serious relationships, are actually experiencing. What the single man gets, 80% of the benefits that marriage traditionally provided, sexual access. Not with one woman exclusively, but sexual needs are met through dating, casual relationships, friends with benefits. For men with moderate attractiveness or resources, this is readily available. Quality, variable, but often higher because women he's with are actually attracted and enthusiastic rather than obligated. Domestic function. His home is clean because he cleans it or pays someone to clean it. He eats well because he cooks or orders food or uses meal services. His life functions smoothly because he manages it or outsources management. Quality often higher than what a modern wife provides because professionals do their jobs well and he controls standards. Companionship. Friends, hobby groups, community, professional networks. He's not isolated, he's socially connected in ways that matter to him. Quality, often higher because friendships are voluntary and reciprocal, not obligatory and one-sided. Freedom and autonomy. He makes every decision about his life without negotiating. He spends money as he sees fit. He pursues hobbies and interests without justification. He structures time according to his preferences. Quality, infinite because it's complete self-determination. Peace and stability. No emotional volatility to manage. No drama to navigate. No constant criticism. No testing. No having to defend his choices or prove his worth. Quality, priceless for men who've experienced the alternative. What it costs him, 10% of the mental price most modern wives require. No constant evaluation. No performance anxiety. No walking on eggshells. No managing someone else's emotional state. No defending every choice. No justifying how he spends time or money. Significantly less financial cost. He's not paying for her car, her bills, her nails, her girls' trips, her shopping, her lifestyle inflation. He's supporting one person, himself, and potentially paying for dates and services which combined cost far less than supporting a wife. The math for single men gives autonomy over his own life, receives 80% of traditional marriage benefits, endures 10% of the drama that modern marriage creates. From a pure cost-benefit perspective, singleness is the superior option for most men. The delusional pricing strategy, why women are losing the market. Here's where we get to the core economic problem that women are facing. Women who believe what they offer is exclusive to marriage, that men need to marry them to access what they provide, are pricing themselves out of the market with quality men. They're operating under assumptions that were true in 1950, but are false in 2020. 5. False assumption 1, he needs me for sex. Reality, he has abundant access to sexual partners without marriage commitment. And often the sex he gets from women he's casually dating is higher quality than what he'd get from a wife 3 years into marriage when she's comfortable and attraction has faded. False assumption 2, he needs me to manage his home. Reality, he can manage his own home or pay professionals to manage it more reliably than most modern wives do. False assumption 3, he needs me for companionship. Reality, he has friends, community, hobbies, interests that provide companionship without the drama and criticism that comes with modern relationships. False assumption 4, he needs me to be socially acceptable. Reality, being successfully single is often higher status than being married to a woman who doesn't respect him. False assumption 5, he needs me to be happy. Reality, many men report being happier single than they were in relationships or marriages because the absence of constant criticism and drama creates peace they didn't know was possible. Operating from these false assumptions, women are demanding premium pricing. He must court her extensively. He must pay for everything. He must prove his worth. He must commit fully. He must provide financially. He must defer to her preferences. He must accept her terms while providing economy-level value, minimal domestic contribution, conditional sexual access, emotional volatility, constant criticism, zero guarantees, ready exit strategists, is like demanding Bentley prices while delivering Honda Civic value. The market doesn't sustain that pricing long term. The market correction, what's actually happening, and here's what's happening as a direct result of this pricing dysfunction. Quality men are opting out of marriage entirely, not because they hate women, not because they're broken or dysfunctional, but because they've performed the cost-benefit analysis and concluded that marriage offers no benefits that justify the costs and risks. Marriage rates are collapsing among younger generations. Men under 35 are getting married at historic lows. They're watching older men get destroyed in divorce courts and learning from expensive mistakes they didn't have to make personally. Women over 30 are panicking about relationship prospects because the high-quality men they assumed would be available when they were ready to settle down have either married younger women or opted out of marriage entirely. The where have all the good men gone? Articles are multiplying. Women are discovering that men they want, successful, attractive, emotionally stable, are increasingly unavailable for the terms women are offering. This is a market correction. When supply exceeds demand and prices are too high, the market adjusts. Women are the oversupplied commodity. Men are the scarce demand. And prices are correcting whether women accept it or not. The two choices, what women can actually doso. Women essentially face two choices going forward. Choice 1, become a genuinely valuable partner. This means actually providing value that justifies the commitment and cost marriage demands from men. What this looks like in practice: embrace traditional partnership where you actually contribute. Cook meals regularly, maintain the home, create an environment he wants to come home to. Manage household operations competently. Actually do the domestic labor that historically justified male provision. Respect him and his leadership. Stop the constant criticism. Stop the evaluation and testing. Stop treating him like he's perpetually failing your standards. Appreciate what he does provide instead of focusing on what he doesn't. Provide consistent, enthusiastic sexual intimacy. Understand that this is one of the primary benefits of marriage for men. If you're not providing this consistently and enthusiastically, you're failing to deliver one of the core components of what he signed up for, support his mission and goals. Make his life easier, not harder. Be the person who helps him succeed, rather than the person who drains his energy. Contribute to building together, rather than consuming what he builds. Be genuinely pleasant to live with. Control your emotional volatility. Don't make every day an emotional minefield he has to navigate. Create peace in his home rather than chaos. Commit fully and visibly. Take his name. Combine finances properly. Make decisions as a unit. Don't maintain exit strategies. Be all in the way you expect him to be all in. This is the traditional wife model. And it works when women actually do it rather than just performing it temporarily to secure a commitment and then reverting to modern dysfunction. Choice 2, try your luck in the modern dating market. If you're unwilling to be a traditional partner, if you want to maintain your independence, your career focus, your option preservation, your minimal contribution model, that's fine. You're allowed to make that choice. But understand the consequences. Quality men will not commit to you long term. They'll date you casually, they'll sleep with you, they'll enjoy your company. But they won't marry you because you're offering nothing that justifies the risk and cost. You'll compete with younger, more attractive, more pleasant women. Men with options choose women who make their lives better. If you're not doing that, there are thousands of women who will. You'll age out of market relevance. Male attraction is largely based on youth and beauty. As you age, your options decline. The men you want are dating women 10 years younger than you. This is reality whether you like it or not. You'll likely end up alone or settling for men you don't respect. The feminist independence model works fine if you're genuinely okay being alone. But if you want partnership, you're discovering that partnership requires offering something worth partnering with. These are your choices. There is no third option where you provide minimal value while demanding maximum commitment and getting it from high-quality men. That model doesn't work because men have figured out the math. The underlying truth, men are tired of overpaying. Let me close with the fundamental truth driving all of this. Men are tired of overpaying for substandard product. That sounds harsh. It sounds transactional. But all relationships are transactions. Both parties provide value. Both parties receive value when the exchange is balanced. Relationships work. When it's imbalanced, they fail. For most of human history, the marriage transaction was balanced, he provided. Financial security, protection, status, provisioning she provided, domestic labor, sexual access, child-rearing, companionship, household management, both parties got what they needed. Both parties were better off together than apart. Modern marriage has become catastrophically imbalanced, he still provides. Financial security, emotional labor, commitment, provision she provides, minimal domestic labor, conditional sexual access, constant evaluation, emotional volatility, exit strategy. He's paying full price for a fraction of the value, and he's figured this out. The women who are winning, who are finding good men willing to commit, are the women who understand this economic reality and provide genuine value. They're not performing temporary virtue to secure commitment and then reverting to dysfunction. They're actually being good partners, respectful, supportive, sexually available, domestically competent, pleasant to live with, fully committed. The women who are losing, who can't find commitment from quality men, are the women insisting that men should accept overpriced, under-delivering partnership because they're women and men should be grateful for whatever scraps they're willing to provide. That model is dying. The market is correcting. And no amount of articles about where have all the good men gone will change the fundamental economic reality. When you overprice your product while under-delivering on value, customers go elsewhere. And men have figured out that the alternatives to modern marriage are superior in almost every measurable way. Drop a comment about your perspective. Are you experiencing this market correction? Are you one of the men who opted out? Are you one of the women trying to figure out why commitment isn't available? Subscribe because this channel will continue providing the economic and social analysis of modern relationships that nobody else is willing to discuss honestly. Stay clear about your value. Stay honest about cost-benefit analysis. And never accept a deal that doesn't actually serve your interests, no matter how much pressure society applies.